you doing, everybody, and welcome to Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. It is a fantastic Thursday today here, and hey, a lot of good things happening. A lot of good things happening here in the state of Wisconsin, but a lot of not so good things happening right now, so we got to look at both today. We're going to look at the Brewers first today, and well, I know we talked about it yesterday, and we said that you can't read too far into what spring training stats are. But yesterday, the Brewers got mopped in a spring training game. 15-4 was the final score there against the White Sox. And I really want to say that you can't read too far into a spring training game, but Bryce Wilson, he had 3 innings pitched there, 12 hits, 9 earned runs, 3 strikeouts, and 1 walk across 3 innings of work. That makes you nervous. I know he might be working through some stuff, but it makes you nervous. It really does, if you ask me. If I'm a Brewer, being a Brewer fan right now, I'm like, I haven't seen very good pitching as of late here. Yeah, guys are working through stuff, but we're about a week and a half from the start of the regular season, and guys are you telling me they're still working through things right now? We haven't been able to fine-tune it yet and get ready to go? I don't know. I'm definitely optimistic, right? You got to be optimistic. This Brewers team will be fine, right? 7-12 here in Cactus League. It doesn't matter what the record says, but I want to see some solid pitching. I want to see some guys hitting here. And as of late, right now, it's been a struggle. Looking at the starting lineup in this one, Sal Frelik played third base, 1 for 3 in this one. Contreras, 1 for 2 on the game there. Gary Sanchez played 0 for 2. We saw a little bit of Jefferson Quero there, 1 for 2 in this one. Tyler Black played 1 for 4, 2 for 4 for Weimer in this game. Owen Miller, solid outing from Owen Miller again there. He had a hit, 1 hit there, 2 runs scored, 1 for 4 on the game. Brewer Hicklin, he had a home run for him, 1 for 2. He had a 2-run shot there. And Luis Lara went 1 for 1 in this one. Brewers all around outdone by the White Sox. 21 hits for the White Sox in this game in total, 15 runs, 21 hits. They used a big second inning there and a decent-sized third there. 8 runs between the second and third. Actually, 10 runs across the first 3 innings in this game here that really pushed the envelope in this one for the White Sox. Pitching-wise for the Brewers, we saw Bryce Wilson in this game. Like I said, struggled here. Hudson came in again, pitched well for the Brewers. 2 1/3 inning, 1 hit, 4 strikeouts. Trevor McGill, an inning and a third, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 strikeout. That was about it for notables there for the Brewers and the pitching staff, but we're getting closer and closer, right? I got to see guys starting to produce here, guys starting to pitch a little bit better here heading into the regular season. I haven't seen it as of late. Right now, it looks like Devin Williams will see a specialist for his back here coming up, so what does that do for Devin Williams? What does that mean for the Brewers? Well, if he's not ready to go for opening day, now we're in the shelf to find a new closer. Is that closer going to be the likes of Pampas, Uribe? I don't even know. I mean, McGill, I don't know. It might be a close by committee. Who was ever available that night might be the guy, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see what the Brewers do here now that Devin Williams might be on the shelf. We already know Wade Miley's on the shelf. It's definitely an interesting time right now for the Brewers, and I don't know. It's a lot. I had question marks already with this Brewers team, mainly in the starting rotation. Now it's looking like it's moving into the bullpen. When you see a specialist for your back, you get nervous, right? The back is something that instrumental to your body, right? You need your back, but it's instrumental to a pitcher, especially to have that ability in his back. And well, right now, Devin Williams seeing a specialist. Hopefully everything checks out and Devin Williams is back soon. But man, that is going to be a big blow to this Brewers team if he's not ready to go. The Brewers will be back in action. I believe it will be today here. They will be taking on the Mariners there. So should be a good one there. A 3:10 start. Pulling up the notables, Jansen Junk will pitch for the Brewers, and then Wu will pitch for the Mariners in that game. Should be a good one. Hopefully see some good pitching out of the Brewers here moving forward. I love what I'm seeing out of Wes Clark. I gotta be honest, first baseman there. First base catcher, I think he's basically a utility player for him. 4 home runs, 304 average right now, and 7 RBIs. This guy's been playing well for the Brewers here in spring. I don't know. I mean, he's still young. You don't know what he's going to develop or when he's going to have potential to come up to the big league roster, but it's great to see some of these prospects like Wes Clark hitting so well at the big league level already, whether it's spring training or not. Hitting well at the big league level already. Show some promise for the future, right? That's a big thing with the Brewers, is the promise for the future. We did find out, according to Pat Murphy, that Bryce Wilson is going to be the starting second baseman for the Brewers to start the year. So we kind of got that solidified now. Bryce Wilson will be the starting second baseman. Got to see the guy hit, right? We've seen the glove, we've seen the arm, we know he's got the talent in the field. It's just going to be a matter of, can this guy hit and sustain that at the big league level? So that's going to be a big question mark here leading into this regular season. So good stuff there with the Brewers. But before we move on here, I want to mention a few of our sponsors here. First, your hometown team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty. Call Peggy, Sue, or Anna to find your dream home, or if you're looking to sell. Find them on Facebook at your hometown team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty, or stop in and see them at their location in Marshfield. Also, Sports Scene, sports cards, and memorabilia. Stop in there in the Marshfield Mall. Check out Al. He'll get you everything you need from sports cards to memorabilia, jerseys, model stock cars. He's got it all kinds of hobby supplies there at Sports Scene in Marshfield. Check them out there at the Marshfield Mall. Also, Pittsville Farm and Home Center. At the store, they serve you anything from hydraulic hoses to red roses. Stop in and see the awesome crew at Pittsville Farm and Home Center in Pittsville, Wisconsin. But moving off of the Brewers, moving into the Bucks now. This is a team who's not doing so well. West Coast road trip. We were hoping for good things. Coming out of that one, they went 1 out of 4. 1 out of 4 there on the West Coast. 1-3 West road trip there. Not great. Definitely not great. And the worst part was 2 blowout losses on that road trip. 1 to the Kings and 1 to the Golden State Warriors. The LeBron-less Lakers, you want to look at that game as a bad thing, but I mean, D'Lo went off. There's not a lot you can do. D'Lo just had a fantastic game, but right now you watch this Bucks team disorganized. There isn't a lot going right. We know we talked about team chemistry and when it was going to finally come to this Bucks team. I still think they're lacking team chemistry right now with this team. And defensively, I mean, we thought the guards were getting better, Beasley and Damian Lillard, but they were bad on this road trip, especially against the Kings. This was bad. I mean, the guards played bad. All around, they played bad against the Kings here. And I just want to jump into the stats real quick. Looking at this game against the Kings, a 129-94 finish there. The Bucks, I mean, from the tip, they were in this, and then it just all went south. Looking at that second quarter there, 26 points, gave up 37 to the Kings. Kings went off for 75 in that first half against the Bucks. And then you look at that second half, Bucks got a little bit better there in the third, but Kings, I mean, not pressing as much, right? It's like that Golden State game all over again. And then that fourth quarter, 34 points put up by the Sacramento Kings compared to the Bucks 16. 16 points in that fourth quarter. That ain't going to cut it in the NBA. That's just, I mean, we all know that. We all know that watching the NBA these days. It's a higher paced, we're going to get out and score kind of league now. And well, 16 points is what you score if you're one guy, not an entire team in a quarter there. And the Bucks struggled mightily in this game against the Kings. And a lot of that struggle came from Damian Lillard in this game. Looking at Dame in this one, only 2, I mean, he had those 2 turnovers in this one, 6 rebounds, but 10 points. 10 points on 2 for 12 shooting, 1 for 6 from downtown. He was a no-show in this game. Giannis, 30 points, 10 for 17 from the field, 0 for 2 from downtown, 10 for 14 from the free throw line. I got to be honest, I'm sick of seeing Giannis out the three-point line. I really am. I like the guy. I think he's got a lot of talent. I'm not going to say that I think he's got a lot of talent. I know he's got a lot of talent, but his talent's in the paint. His talent is back to the basket, making a move. His talent is at times going downhill, but the guy is better when he's playing inside. Why is he on the perimeter? Why is he thinking about a three? Is Beasley not good enough that we need to rely on Giannis to shoot threes too? Is Damian Lillard not good enough that we need to rely on Giannis to shoot threes too? Why is Giannis trying to play that game that isn't his? That's the big question I have. Why are we not saying, Giannis, get in the paint, do what you're supposed to do? That's your job. My job, Damian Lillard, is to shoot threes. My job, Malik Beasley, is definitely to shoot threes. You look at the bench, Gallinari, Patrick Connaughton, Bobby Portis can shoot the three ball. Those guys are my three-point shooters. Giannis is not, and Giannis tries to be. He tries to do this. I'm going to walk up and shoot a three. You're not Steph. You're not Dame. Get in the paint. That's where you belong. That's your spot. That's where I want to see you. 30 points in this game, all in the paint. I don't need to see you at the three-point line. I need to see you inside because you draw a crowd, and when that crowd comes, now guys get open. Now Dame gets open. Now Malik Beasley's open for a three. Brook Lopez, we know the guy doesn't score it inside anymore. His spot's on the outside. All those guys, that's their way to play the game, and I think this Bucks team sometimes gets away from that. Jay Crowder didn't even shoot. In this game against the Kings, didn't even record a shot. I'm all for, I'm all for defense, defensive players, role players. I don't know what Jay Crowder is. Is he a role player? Is he anywhere near good? I don't know. This guy, nothing. Didn't even average anything in this game. 2 assists. That's it. Didn't get a rebound. 1 steal. That's it. 1 foul. That was his entire stat line. He had 2 assists, 1 steal, and 1 foul. That's it. Jay Crowder, a starter in this lineup. You need Middleton back. You really do. You need Middleton back sooner rather than later. I've heard it's going to be on this homestand coming up here, whether it's this game or the next, but sooner the better. This Bucks team doesn't have it offensively right now. You're missing that other scorer. That scorer is Khris Middleton. And if that ain't it, then this Bucks team, well, we might have seen their best. And their best still isn't good enough to, realistically, beat a team like the Pacers, who can score at a high clip. Beat a lot of these teams in the West. The East, the Celtics, you're not even in the same ballpark with them if you can't score the basketball. And that's what this Bucks team is showing me right now. Is Khris Middleton really that missing piece? I think he's a missing piece. But is he going to be able to make up for, as of right now, you're looking at 15, 20, 25 points a night that you're missing in this lineup right now to be really competitive here with a lot of these good teams. I think that's what the Bucks are missing. Defensively, you can hang your hat on it. But I don't think the Bucks will ever get that good defensively that they're going to be able to hang it on there completely. Pat Bev is a good defender, but Dame's not. Beasley isn't. Brook Lopez is slow. So where is going to be the difference maker? And that's going to be the Bucks being able to score with these other teams. They can play fine defense, not great defense. They're not a great defensive team. They're a fine defensive team. And right now, offense, they got to find some offense, whether it's in Khris Middleton coming back, whether it's a guy coming off the bench there, maybe it's Gallinari, maybe it's Patrick Connaughton finally finding something. Bobby Portis did struggle in this game against the Kings here, only 11 points, not what we've seen as of late, but you can't rely on your bench to be able to constantly put up all these points for you, especially in the sparing minutes that Doc does actually play some of these guys. You got to rely on a starter. You got to rely on your starters, your big dogs, Dame and Giannis, to be able to get things done, and the role players along with them, Beasley and Brook Lopez. We went into this season, Brook Lopez was supposed to be a key factor. Brook Lopez so far, I don't remember the last time he scored over 10 points. 7 in this one, 7 points. He is plus minus when he was out there was negative 21. So, the Bucks did trail for most of this game, but negative 21 ain't good. That ain't anything good right there. I don't know. This Bucks team is in shambles. And coming off this West Coast road trip, now you don't want to freak out, right? You're still 42-24. You're not good on the road. We've seen that, 17-17. So how do you come back home? How do you come back home? You're now going to take on the 76ers. This is a struggling team. How do you play when you come back to the Pfizer? That's going to be the big thing I want to see, because this Bucks team, when they do play at home, they're a pretty solid team. 25-7 at home on the year. You can't lose this game. This game to the 76ers could be the tilt. This could be the tilt of everything going right or everything going wrong. Do we see Khris Middleton back in this game? It wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt to have him back. I think the Bucks can win this game without Khris, but it's definitely something that they need to get back here pretty soon, is the likes of Khris Middleton. Get him healthy, get him ready to rock and roll for this home stretch, because after the 76ers, it doesn't get easier if you are the Milwaukee Bucks. You see the Sixers, then the Suns, then the Celtics on the road. You got that game against the Celtics, followed by the Nets. Then you got OKC, the Lakers, and the Pelicans. That's a tough stretch of games right there. And then you look at down the stretch in this season after the Pelicans, Wizards, Memphis, Toronto, but then you have a gauntlet here. Knicks, Boston, Magic, OKC, Magic. The Magic, they aren't great, but 38-28, they're a solid team. The Bucks have struggled against some of these teams this year. You look at teams like the Pacers. They struggle mightily against the Pacers. So how do they play against not even a great team in the Magic late down the season, or in the season here? I really do think this next couple games here for the Bucks, they should get Khris Middleton back, is going to be, you're going to see what the rest of this year is going to look like and how far this Bucks team truly can go come playoff times. I really do think this upcoming stretch is going to be that, not make or break, but it's going to be that stretch that kind of shows you what the Bucks are really made of. How do you come back from a one out of 4 on the road trip here? How do you come back home and play after that bad road trip? It wasn't a good road trip. If it was if you went 2 out of 4, if you went 2-2 on this last road trip, you look at it different. But you went 1-3. That's bad. 1-3 looks bad. 2-2 wouldn't have looked bad at all. I think if you would have came away from this West Coast swing with a 2-2 record, 500 on that road trip, not bad at all. But you came back 1 out of 4, and now you had to face 2 tough teams. The Sixers are not a good team right now, but they're not a pushover, right? So you're going to face an okay team in the Sixers, and then you got to face the Suns and the Celtics. How do you respond to a terrible stretch of basketball to now? That's what this Bucks team is going to answer for us in these upcoming games here. So with that, before we move on here, we got a couple more things we want to talk about today. It's going to be a little bit shorter here today, but we got a couple more things to jump into today. First off, I want to name off a couple more of our sponsors here. First, Game Day Supply in Alaska. Do you have a sports club or team? Are you looking for some sweet custom uniforms or apparel? Check out the awesome crew at Game Day Supply in Alaska to help your team get the sweetest gear. Find them on Facebook at Game Day Supply or online at GameDaySupply.net. Also, Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood. Do you have a Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood. Have you been injured lately, whether at work, on the field, on the court, wherever it was, and you need some physical therapy? Stop in there at Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood. See Chad there. He'll get you right. He'll get you back to work, back out on the field, back on the court, wherever it is. He'll get you right. Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood, Wisconsin. But hey, it's tourney time, baby, right? Badger basketball is back today here on the Big Ten Network. Number 5 in the Big Ten tourney here, taking on Maryland. This Maryland team, they kicked in the doors of Rutgers last night. That wasn't much of a contest. 65-51 was the final. Got a little bit closer there down the stretch, but Maryland controlled this game relatively from the tip, 36-22 at the end of the first half there. And then from there, they just took care of business and matched Rutgers there in the second half. And that was enough to carry them over the edge here. They did a lot good in this game, did Maryland. Looking at some of their key scores out of the game from Rutgers, you're looking at the likes of Dylan Scott and Reese there. Also, Jameer Young, 11 points there for him. And Kaiser Jr. went for 11 for this team here in Maryland. Maryland's a tough team. I mean, we saw them earlier as Badger fans. The Badgers did win that contest 74-70. This game got a little bit closer near the end. I mean, Maryland was able to hit shots. That was a big thing. Late in this one, Maryland started knocking down some shots. That's what really brought them back in this game. Badgers right away jumped out in this one. 37-29 29 at that half in that first meeting there. And the rest of the way, the Badgers controlled that one until late in that ball game. First matchup, I mean, you look at the defensive side, it's going to come from the guards. The guards are going to have to play well in this game. Jameer Young, first time around, went for 20 against this Badger team, 1 for 4 from downtown. Solid outing from Young, got to the free throw line 7 times. 7 free throws in that game, 7 for 7. He's not a guy you want to mess around with getting to the free throw line. Julian Reese went for 18 for Maryland, and Scott went for 12 in that game. Kaiser came off the bench in that one there. He had 8 points for him off the bench compared to what he did yesterday against Rutgers with 11. First matchup for the Badgers, we saw a lot of good scoring. We had 4 guys in the starting lineup there in double figures. AJ Storr had 10. Wall had the big game for the Badgers. Wall's going to have another big game here. He had 18 points first time around. Going to have to see good things out of Tyler Wall here in this second game against Maryland. Klesmit, first time around, he had 16 points. I mean, 8 for 8 from the free throw line. Guy got to the line late, and he capitalized on free throws. Badgers won that game against Maryland late on free throws. That's plain and simple. They got to the line. They executed 28 for 31 in that game from the free throw line. 4 for 17 from downtown. Bad shooting in that first matchup. I mean, I saw a lot of people talking about it. And I asked the question out there, Badgers, what do they got to get better at? Blah, blah, blah. And I saw people, they say the silliest of answers like, oh, yeah, they hit their threes. They win those games. Yeah, no way. I get that. What does this Badger team need to do differently? I mean, you look at that game against Purdue that Wisconsin played, and I believe they shot a ridiculous amount of 3-pointers. I thought it was like 24 in that game against Purdue. Just want to double check that stat here real quick, but I believe it was high. It was in the 20s. I know that for a fact. Oh, now it doesn't want to pull up for me. In that game, they shot 24 threes. You shot 24 threes. I get it. They're open, but there's a reason why teams leave the Badgers open, why they don't rotate out so hard on shooters, and why they're so... Teams defend Wisconsin right now like the only way they're going to beat them is in the post. They hang back. They don't allow the drives. They don't want the Badgers to get to the basket because when the Badgers get to the basket or the mid-range, they're better. But they get outside of that, out to the 3-point arc. 5 for 24 against Purdue. And, I mean, if you look games ahead of that for the Badgers, they've struggled. They've struggled mightily this year shooting the basketball. And what do you contribute that to is, to me, I've asked the question all season long here. I've said the Badgers defense has been terrible this year. And when I say that, this team has given up high 70s, high 80s to some bad teams. And I just look at it and I say to myself, okay, the only thing that anybody has been able, or that Greg Gard tells us, is why Connor Essegian isn't getting all this playing time and everything like that is, well, he's bad on the defensive end, right? He's bad on the defensive end. Okay, that's fine. I get it. He's bad on the defensive end. If this was a normal Badger team like we've seen in the past, where they are a great defensive team, I could see it. I'd be like, I want 100%, and I 100% support your reasoning for why Connor Essegian isn't getting time out there. But when you put it into the perspective of this year, this team is bad. Just downright terrible shooting the 3-point right now. They are 33% from downtown on the year, 10th in the Big Ten. They are only ahead of Maryland, Rutgers, Indiana, and Penn State in 3-point percentage on the year. And those teams, I mean, there ain't much separating the Badgers from being 12th in the Big Ten right now. They're 33.9%. Indiana's sitting there at 32.8 or 32.8 in percentage-wise right now. They are a bad three-point shooting team in Wisconsin. And you look at the flip side of that, you want to see why the Wisconsin Badgers are struggling? They're allowing teams to shoot 37% from the three-point line against them. That is worse in the Big Ten. That is, well, if you want to look at it as best, they are the best team at giving up threes on the year. They are downright bad at defending the three-point arc. And that, you want to know the killer. You want to know the killer? Those two metrics right there. I can't, there isn't much else you got to look at when you look at this Badger team. They're terrible at defending the three. They're terrible at shooting the three. All around, terrible. You look at opponent field goal percentage on the year. The Badgers are allowing 46% from the field to opposing teams. The only team worse than Wisconsin, Michigan. The 8-23 Michigan Wolverines are worse than the Badgers. That's it. And you know what they're worse by? Michigan on the year, 46.8%. The Badgers, 46.1%. There isn't much of a margin there. You look at the flip side of that, shooting percentage for the Badgers, they're 6th in the league. So actually, from the floor, they don't shoot terrible. I mean, they're 6th in the Big Ten. That ain't great. 46% from the field on the year there. They're only above a few other teams by a little bit. But, I mean, there's a bad defensive stat for you right there. And then you look at scoring on the year here. Defensively, the Badgers, not terrible on the defensive end. They are 7th in the league right now, giving up about 69.8% or 69.8 points per game on the year right now. But look at the flip side of that on the offensive side. They're only getting about 74. So there's your margin. There's your margin of error that you have right now if you are the Badgers. The margin for Wisconsin right now is sitting at 4.6. They are at 4.6, the differential there between the two. You don't have that margin for error. And when a team can't, when the Badgers don't have a guy who can hit big shots, there's your fault. There's your fault on the season right there. I just want to look at another one here, and that was free throw percentage. The Badgers are actually 3rd in the Big Ten in free throw percentage. They're behind Iowa and Ohio State there. They're shooting about 75%. So when they get to the line, they hit free throws, right? But how do you get to the free throw line? You got to draw fouls, right? You got to get teams into foul trouble. What do the Badgers not do? They don't drive it. They don't get to the rim. And when they get to the rim, finish through the contact. That's a big thing for me is watching this Badger team finish through the contact. And if you get the foul called, get the foul called. Because you're going to get to the free throw line, you're going to bang them. Because right now we're seeing this team, they are a good free throw shooting team. 75% as a team, that ain't bad at all. They're just about 76%. That's not bad at all. And you look at their opponent free throw percentage against Wisconsin. Wisconsin doesn't put other teams to the line a lot, but teams are shooting about 71% against this Badger team. You see the difference there. Badgers, very good free throw shooting team. They got to get to the line, though. And that's going to be the same in this Maryland game here, is that they have to force the issue and get to the free throw line in this game here. Because you look at this, I just wanted to look at this Maryland team, this last matchup they had against Maryland, and you watch a guy like Tyler Wall in that game. 6 for 7 from the free throw line. You want to see where you can win and lose ball games. I guarantee, and I don't have the stats up in front of me, but if you look at games where the Badgers win, they get to the free throw line probably 20 plus times. And I'm not going to count, this game against Maryland, they had 31 free throws. A lot of those free throws came late in that game when Maryland was fouling. I'm not counting that. I'm counting free throws in meaningful minutes. The minutes where the team, they're still playing, right? This isn't the crap time at the end where they're fouling to try to keep this game going, right? I'm not counting those minutes. I'm counting the minutes that it's a close game. The Badgers in games that they have won, I guarantee, have shot 18, 20, 23 free throws in total. Guarantee it. And if not, you'll get Maryland game 31. And I'm not, like I said, not counting the garbage time. But that's my point with this Badger team, is when it's not working from downtown, I get it. The simple thing at the end of the day is when you are asked, hey, why is this Badger team sucking? They can't shoot from 3. Okay. What can you do differently, though? If you can't hit from 3 is the goal, it is the key to winning a basketball game then to keep firing them up, because that's what the Badgers are doing right now. They couldn't hit against Purdue, 5 for 24. They couldn't hit. So your immediate answer, that's what I want to ask people. Your immediate answer is, let's fire up some more. Let's keep chucking that baby at the rim, because one of them's going to go in, right? After that 1 for 12 start the Badgers had, one of them's going to go in. Why, when you have terrible defensive metrics, and this is the wrap, I went with a point and I got off it, right? Why, when you have terrible defensive metrics and you can't shoot, your best shooter on this team, Connor Essegian, why does he not get in there for action? That's what I want to know. Why? I don't get it. I want to understand it. And I don't want to hear it from Greg Gard. I really don't. Because all he's going to tell me is Connor Essegian doesn't play good enough defense. I don't care. I got to be honest with you. These Badger games this year, the Badgers aren't scoring 50 points. They're not scoring 60 points. They're not holding teams to 50, 60 points like we remember with Wisconsin basketball. These games are high 60s, high 70s, 80s. That's where they're playing right now. This Maryland team's putting up 70 points against Badgers defense without Connor Essegian. What can he do worse? I mean, we want shooters, right? We need guys to hit shots. Connor Essegian's right there. If the Badgers want to make any kind of run in the Big Ten tourney, in the Big Dance, you got to use your best guys, your best shooters. Connor Essegian's your best shooter. I got to be honest with you. I like Max Klesmit. Chucky Hepburn doesn't shoot, so we can't even blame Chucky anymore. You want to blame Chucky? Be my guest. But Chucky Hepburn doesn't shoot. There isn't much you can blame him on except for the fact that he doesn't shoot anymore. That's the only thing you blame Chucky for. Other than that, this guy doesn't shoot. Where do you blame? I can't blame any of these players. I mean, shots aren't falling. What do you do? What do you do? Can you blame the players that their shots aren't falling? Set them up in something else. Run a different offense. I don't care what it is. Cut to the basket. Find cutters. Do the simple things. Basketball is such a... It's not a complex game, right? It doesn't have to be a complex game. It seems complex. There are complex things that you can do inside of a basketball game, but you can simplify the game of basketball down so far. Cut the lane. Find cutters. Look for open shooters on kickouts. Find the post area. Get it to your big fellas. Let them go to work in the paint. When it isn't there in the paint, they try to double down, then look for the kick. It's a simple thing. So in this Maryland game, I mean, that's what I'm watching for. The Badgers go into this Big Ten tournament on a slump. They were hot to start the year. They might have actually outplayed themselves, outplayed what they actually were. You go into the Big Ten tournament now with a clean slate. You got to think of it as a clean slate. This team runs on confidence. That's my belief. This Badger team runs on confidence, and they have zero confidence. You have to go into this Big Ten tournament, clean slate. You have a 0-0 record. End of the day, I want the Badgers, and this is the way that they have to look at it, is they're playing for their tournament lives, right? They're in the tournament for sure. They know that. We know that. But they have to almost go into this tournament with the mindset that we might not get in. Or if we do, we might be a terrible seed. We might get in as an 8, 9, 10 seed. We don't want that. We got to play for that 6. We got to play for that 5. We got to play they would have to walk through this Big Ten tournament, win the Big Ten championship, probably move up any farther than a 5. But that's almost the mentality you got to play with. It's a do or die. We got to push the envelope. We have to shoot with confidence. We got to be the aggressor in these games. Because if you're not the aggressor, Maryland played very aggressive against Rutgers. They came out and put the boot to anything Rutgers was trying to do. This Maryland team will beat you in the first round. If you aren't careful, Jameer Young can have a big game. Reese can have a big game. I mean, Scott is a good three-point shooter. The Badgers have to play well. And it all starts now, because if you drop this game against Maryland, I don't trust going into the tournament. I really don't. You get a 6 seed. I mean, imagine playing a team like Indiana State. That's a solid team, and they can shoot the basketball. You get them as an 6-11 matchup. I worry about that first game in the big dance. This is a have to win. This is a have to get right game. Truthfully, I'm going to be honest with you. The Badgers have won 2 out of their last 9 games, I believe it was. 2 out of their last 9. Three out of their last 11. If you look at their last 11, they've won 3 out of their last 11. 3-8 across that last 11 games. If you go into this game, we have not seen the Badgers actually play the same type of basketball since, I would say, Michigan State. Or, well, I won't say that. First half against Nebraska. That was the basketball that we have seen all season long. Team chemistry, shots were falling, defense looked fine. It was all good against Nebraska their first half. Second half, it fell apart. It has never gotten back to normal. I'm going to be honest with you. Has not gotten back to normal. Their best games, actually, were against Purdue twice. Other than that, I mean, I look at that game against, I would even say their wins. You look at that game against the Rutgers, the second time around against Rutgers was better. That was their best game that they played in this stretch. But I look at the other 2 wins, Maryland and Ohio State. The Badgers, I believe, just snuck out games. That Ohio State game, they won that one, but Ohio State missed a lot of shots late. And Maryland put the run on them late in that one. If that game was any closer, that would have got scary. The Badgers missed a couple free throws. That game might have went the other way. I mean, they did everything they had to do to win that game against Maryland, but that was a game at the Kohl Center that should have been it should have been just walk right on by. It should have been an easy game. And yet, the Badgers made it close. That's how this second half has been, and I really got to see in this Big Ten tournament, this game against Maryland is going to tell us a lot. This is going to tell us a lot, because if you win this game, you play Northwestern. If they struggle with Maryland, Northwestern's a different animal. And I don't know. That game's going to be even tougher, if you ask me. You have to win this game against Maryland, and you have to show us something. You got to show everybody something. Show everybody in the country something. That this Badger team, that it wasn't a fluke. The first half of the year wasn't a fluke, and there's still something. There is still something there, and this team is actually worthy of being in that top echelon of seeds going into this tournament. That is going to be my big question mark, and that's something I'm going to watch for here in this game against Maryland. I mean, in this game, I really do think I got to see big games out of Steven Crowell. And AJ Storr is the best player on Wisconsin, as they say. I got to see a big game out of him. If you're going to put a run on the tourney, your best players have to show up. And AJ Storr is the best player on the Wisconsin Badger team. He's got to show up in this game. And I got to see something in this game out of Klesmit and Chucky. I got to be honest with you. Wall's going to be Wall. I think Wall's going to be Wall in this game. If the Badgers are going to make a run, Chucky Hepburn and Steven Crowell are going to be the big X factors. I got to be honest with you. Because Chucky right now hesitant to shoot, and Crowell's been a non-factor over the past couple weeks for this Badger team. We got to see big games out of Crowell. We got to see big games out of Chucky moving forward. And that will, I believe, boost this Badger team a little bit more to the point where maybe they make some noise. Maybe they find a way to win a couple games here. That is what I need to see out of this Badger team coming up against Maryland here. So big game coming up here on BTN today. That'll be a 1 o'clock tip there for that one. It's tourney time, right? This is the time of the year when we have to get excited. So it's going to be a good game there. Badgers, Maryland. We're going to recap that one tomorrow. Hopefully, we're going to be talking about a Badgers win in an upcoming matchup with Northwestern. But with that, that's about all I got for today. This has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow. But until then, deuces.